Hey guys, welcome back to the GSL Code S Group H. It's been dubbed the Stefano Group. Fortunately for him, he finds himself in the losers match up against Hack, who was not able to take out DRG. That was the last set we just saw. Now it's time for the winners match. One of these two players, Bogus or DRG, is going to take the first place in the group and get right into Code S. The other one will have to play in the final match against whoever wins between Hack and Stefano. In talking to Stefano earlier during the break, he seems very relaxed. He's hanging out, in fact, with Karn, another French player you guys may have heard of. And what he said was, you know, obviously Hack is the player you want to face in the losers match if you lost. And then, of course, he wants to play against iNnoVation and not DRG. Doesn't want to play a ZVZ in the final match. So if you're a Stefano fan, keep those things in mind because that's how he's looking at this going forward here. iNnoVation versus DRG. Winners match starting out on Akalon Flats. A map that was popularized, of course, in the StarCraft 2 Heartless Swarm beta, now being pushed into Wings of Liberty, preparing for that Heartless Swarm. This is, of course, for those of you guys who do not know, the last Wings of Liberty Code S. DRG, the final boss of Wings of Liberty. You can see if he can push things through, maybe take another title. iNnoVation is not going to give it to him easily. iNnoVation doing so well last season. And the way we saw him play earlier against Stefano was actually art-like. Can he do it again? It's Akalon Flats. This is the GSL Code S. I am Wolf. Today alone, but I know you're all with me. Let's do this. At the top left in the yellow, Terran player from STX Seoul. It is
STX Seoul iNnoVation.
Changed his ID because he thought his last one was a little bit bogus. Wearing that teal jersey, I guess I would call it teal. It's teal, turquoise, whatever you want to call it. His opponent to the bottom right, in the red, the final boss for MVP. You all know and love him. He is
MVP DongRaeGu.
You know, the face of Zurich for quite some time here in Korea. The guy you never wanted to face in GSTL. He had a rough time, but he's back and he's better than ever. New and improved DRG. Now, some key features of this map that are different from the beta is that after 420 seconds in-game, about 7 minutes, the watchtowers will actually explode and no longer grant vision. So the watchtowers on this map can give you a ton of information about the center of the map and the paths you take. Really easy to scout and know exactly what your opponent's doing for the first 7 minutes, but after that time, holding the watchtowers doesn't mean anything. They won't exist anymore. Holding the high ground is still helpful, give you a little bit of vision, but you don't get that free reign of the center of the map. So the watchtowers become less important as the game goes on. The only other map to ever have a watchtower like this in GSL history was Alnaga Fortress, which had the watchtower explode after 7 minutes as well, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was 8. But after the early game, it was gone. There's also, of course, neutral depots on this map instead of unbuildable plates. The other distinguishing feature between this map and the beta version. We'll see iNnoVation now drop his command center. Going for a safer build, going barracks first. On the other hand, DRG playing very standard, goes hatchery first, not trying to, play too safely against a Kessel player who's shown the proclivity to go for a CC first time and time again. This map is a two-player map. It looks small if you just look at the mini-map, but it's actually quite large. There's a lot of bases, and the bases are taken in such a way that you feel very comfortable moving forward with them. You take them kind of step by step. Another thing I didn't mention earlier that is actually different about this map, which is actually a really important thing to mention, is that on the beta version of this map, there are collapsible rock towers. Of course, that just don't exist in Wings of Liberty yet, so instead there are just destructible rocks that lead into the third base. There's no wall you can make there, so it's always open. So it's fairly close by and easy to take, but unless you destroy the rocks, things get a little bit hairy to defend. So you definitely have to take those rocks out. Gas is taken for iNnoVation now. We'll see what type of build he has planned. And, you know, DRG just crushed Hack. Didn't even look close. The game that we saw between iNnoVation and Stefano were a little bit different. Stefano in game number 2 didn't really get to show anything, and in game number 1 he showed excellent control, great late game. Unfortunately for him, just not able to keep up with iNnoVation's multitasking is harassing. Will iNnoVation go for more harassment-oriented style. In game 1, he dropped constantly, sending drops to the corner of the base, attacking over and over and over again. And in game 2, he went for a Hellion-type harass, where he actually just ended the game with a nice timing attack. I would not be surprised to see similar playstyle from him here, of course, on Aquiline Flats. Queens want to get over to that third base as soon as possible to start spreading creep. Needs to make sure he kills the rocks as well, because with the rocks being there, if iNnoVation goes for a timing attack at the third base and they're still up, he has to walk way too far to be able to defend. So the walking distance with the rocks in place is longer than, for example, I think it's much longer than in Tomb Valley, because there's no little choke point pathway you can take. You have to walk all the way around. So imagine this map is like a two-player Tomb Valley, kind of, with no center watchtower. It's not quite like in Tomb Valley at all, except the third base. It doesn't even have a similar color tile set. It's a two-player map, not a four-player map. It's very different. Bunker going up for iNnoVation, not cutting any corners here, not taking a fast third, goes for stim, which indicates again more one of these aggressive styles. DRG's going to take this base over here to the right side, which is actually not quite as common in the beta, because that base is easier to defend with the collapsible rock towers in the beta. But on this map, this version of the map, I guess that makes more sense. Otherwise, you have to make a ton of units to kill the rocks. So that's smart. I think this is my first time actually casting a game on this GSL version of this map. Well, I know it is. So I'm kind of exploring it with you guys a little bit. Evolution Chamber is going down, but iNnoVation has the faster 1-1 on the way. You can see the Hellions go to check the watchtower, but it no longer exists. 40 seconds ago, it was gone. It does clean up the lane there. It's important, like I said, though, to hold those positions, because you do get some high ground vision. You can fire from that position as well if you have siege tanks up there. It's a bit situational, but it can work out in your advantage. With a line of sight blocker, it's a little bit tougher to see behind you, though. iNnoVation just putting on some pressure with these Hellions. He actually catches DRG's Queen's a little bit out of position. That's what this wall is for, but you know what? With only a few lings there, he could have tried to break through. Decides, you know what? It's not worth the risk. I don't want to lose my Hellions here. If I lose them without doing damage, I lose my map control. Then DRG can take that base to the bottom left. I won't even be able to scout it. Not going to let that happen. He sees the creep spreading towards that third base at the top right. Decides not to check for a double expand because he knows that DRG's not a crazy person. Not going to try to do both. DRG takes calculated risks, not crazy risks. That's Jelizer. You retired. 2 additional barracks going down. Third CC. He's lined up his armory decently well to get 2-2. He's going to miss the window just a little bit. But just he's powering up to take that third base and to start being aggressive. Even destroying the rocks. He wants to take the third base that DRG did not take, because the Terran player can feel a little bit more comfortable taking a third expansion much later than a Zerg does. He doesn't have to have it right away. Plenty of time to destroy those rocks, which DRG could work on himself now if he wanted to. He's got 18 lings on the map. He wants to use them to defend against his Hellions, so sending them over to that rock area is a bit of a liability. He can only send a few if he wanted to do that. Having lings on the outside of that rock is just asking to lose them. Gotta be careful about that. DRG, though, despite the fact that he's playing on a map that, you know, I feel is a little bit awkward for a Zerg where you have to expand, he's taken a decent supply lead here. iNnoVation's not been able to really punish him or pressure him. DRG at 50, well, he's at 77 versus 54. That's about a 23 harvester lead there. Oh, if only Caldor were here. I'm sure he's like laughing, probably just spilled something at home. I'm sure he's watching in Germany right now live. But a ton of tumors going down for DRG. We already saw how good he is at this. In the past, we've seen it. When the Queen patch came out, he was one of the first Zergs to just really give Terrans hell about those tumors. He's just continued to do so here. One Overlord goes down, but DRG had plenty of Overlords to spare. He's trying to catch this army. He knows also as well that he doesn't need to commit to this because he'll lose several of his banelings, especially if they're targeted, then he'll just pick up. iNnoVation will pick up his units. The Queens aren't fast enough to chase the medevacs down, so he doesn't want to engage, just wants to scare him out. And that's what he is able to do. Continues the creep spread. Just continuing now very meticulously, I would say, through the middle of the map. Both of the external watchtowers are held right now by opposite players. The one to the bottom left is held by iNnoVation, and DRG holds one to the top right. So they both have some awareness of a little bit of pathing, a little bit of drop play that might go on. Not as much information as the middle of the map, though, is given to DRG with his creep. Yeah, he doesn't have those watchtowers to rely on in the middle of the map, but with his creep here, it's better than a watchtower. It grants vision. iNnoVation decides to move out now. He's got 25 Marines and 2 siege tanks and 4 medevacs to support. This is a scary push considering that Baneling speed is not done yet. And if he targets these Banelings down well, DRG could be in trouble. If you look at the supply count, DRG is up 60 supply, but most of that is in drones. Oh, and good Baneling hits those. This is great for DRG. iNnoVation is not going to be happy with this. DRG considers fighting with his Mulus, realizes he doesn't quite have enough. If he had maybe 3 or 4 more, he could have actually traded that decently well. But with the account he had, he decides to pull back. A smart choice with that many medevacs. A great win for DRG, though, getting those Baneling hits. Now he's pushed the army back. He's got the creep going forward. Everything is looking good for him right now. He's even taken his 4th base at this moment in time. iNnoVation is trying to do what he can to clear up these tumors. He's got a good harvester count. In fact, he's been able to catch up pretty quickly, 71 to 80 right now. His composition, though, is just not strong enough to push the creep back and defend. You know, DRG's in a situation where he can fly Mutas forward off creep to spot, to get vision, to figure out where iNnoVation's army is, what the composition is, how large it is. If he sees that there's a few units missing, he's going to think, okay, there's got to be drops somewhere. If he sees the army looks small enough to fight it, he may take an engagement as soon as part of the units step on creep where he's got that speed advantage. All that DRG really needs to do right now is protect this creep to a certain extent, but most importantly, keep his 4th base alive. And with the amount of map control he has with 119 turtles on the map, he shouldn't have much trouble. Tries to pick up a siege tank here. He sees a point of weakness. As well as talking about, the Mutas saw a gap, and he goes for it. Half of iNnoVation's army was a little bit far behind. He fights 2 armies that are smaller, separate than they are together, and DRG now takes a 60 supply lead here. DRG crushes this siege tank. He's got no chance. Even the medevac's starting to fall here. And is iNnoVation really going to die like this? He splits his army into 2 groups. DRG sees it and goes for the attack. And iNnoVation looks like he's just going to fall over and die here. DRG doubles his supply now. 191 to 98. And DRG is not done. He forced a lift. He's killing the refineries. The Marines are trying to chase down the views. There's not enough. Ling support here is way too much. He targets down siege tank on the high ground. He's enough views to where he can fight if he wants to. He starts to really nice angle here for DRG. Not messing this up, not overextending himself. A good Baneling hit. iNnoVation doesn't die yet, but he's lost all chance that he had of retaking the map, taking a 4th base. Now he's just desperate. He's trying to retake his own 3rd, whereas DRG could take a 5th base. He could even take the 5th base to the top right of the map if he wanted to, where he's already got creep spread quite heavily. He could do it in the bottom left as well. His creep is already pretty much there. There's very few places left on this map where DRG's creep is not. iNnoVation needs to pull off a miracle here. He needs to innovate beyond iNnoVation if he wants to take this game. DRG is just everywhere here, and now he's streaming across the map for the 2nd wave. He's remaxed. Way too many units here. Their Mutalisk count alone is at 20. The Marine count now down to 25, and with this many Lings to support, iNnoVation is just struggling to survive. You know, DRG extended himself a little bit too far there, but with his bank, he just doesn't care. He starts 3-3, he remaxes instantly. As much as he can, you know, certainly he's cost a lot of larva, 52 of them on the way. He starts in Ultra's Cavern. That was a decent trade for iNnoVation if you look at it cost for cost, but as far as the economy of this game goes and how far behind iNnoVation is and how he has to remake a 3rd base right now, this is something that DRG can just do over and over and over again, and the supply gap is going to get bigger and bigger. A lot of Mutas go down here, but all of the Marines will go down as well as the medevacs. DRG takes, again, a 60 supply lead, and he wants to finish this game. There's not very many Marines left. They run away. The Mutas, again, not the best unit you want to fight Marines with, but with this many of them, it just does not matter. GG, DRG on a roll tonight. Takes game 1, 1 game away of getting that Code S round of 16 spot, taking 1st place in the group. iNnoVation looked good in his 1st series against Stefano, but DRG is looking like he's on another level. iNnoVation is going to have to think a little bit harder about his next move. He's the final boss, for sure. 1 win away. iNnoVation has to keep his wits about him. Consider, though, if iNnoVation loses, he will actually just fall down to the final match. He will not be out of the group. you can see that sigh of relief on iNnoVation's face when he's just thinking like, all right, you know, this is my map pick. It's Cloud Kingdom's map. I wanna do. It's not even really a sigh of relief. It's a sigh of like, all right, I gotta calm myself down. I'm doing it here. I'm 2 games away of taking the spot. DRG's only 1 game up on me. And DRG taking a 2-0, and then and now the 3rd game is a 3-0, just like the Iron Squid finals. And history has a tendency to repeat itself. If DRG loses his cool here, it's possible he ends up losing and falling all the way out of the group. But right now, as of this moment, he is the very closest to the round of 16 out of anyone else in this group. He's got 1 game left. Can he do it? The map is Cloud Kingdom. This is the GSL Code S Group H. I am Wolf, and with me is everyone watching online and the fans in the studio. Let's do this. To the top right in yellow, the STX Soul player, down a game, needs support. He is
STX Soul iNnoVation.
8th team major, spoke highly of him. He certainly proved himself last season, doing decently already in this group. His opponent, the final boss, he goes by very few other names. The only other one is
MVP DongRaeGu.
He also goes by Puck Suho, but you know, that's quite rare for foreign fans to hear. Cloud Kingdom is a very different map from the map we just witnessed. It's a little bit more open. It's not quite as stretched and narrow. So this is a map where the style is going to be a little bit different from these 2 players. I think what we're going to see from iNnoVation, you know, I was a little bit surprised to not see a CC first on this map, but I think we're going to see either more direct pressure from him rather than this kind of this push that comes out where DRG's creep is just too far and it doesn't work. DRG's like, well, I have too much creep. Your Hellions didn't do too much. You let me get too strong. He needs to do something a little bit more direct, or he needs to take a fast 3rd command center without gas and try to get ahead on his own. Because if he takes the middle ground, DRG is not a player who's going to fall behind. He's not going to die to your pressure, no matter how well you execute it. He's not really going to fall behind. He's just going to defend eloquently. That's what he's known for. DRG, on the other hand, could have a trick up his sleeve. He hasn't shown any all-ins just yet in this group. This is another 2-player map. So far, no gases, but he could show an all-in. Would not put it past him. iNnoVation wants to get his CC down, but there's a twist of irony here. He's going to be drone blocked. In fact, he has to wait for the Marine to come out and chase away. So it denies that command center just a little bit. Also gets the perfect scouting information of what's happening. Sees the command center itself physically. The cancel of command center costs a lot of resources, so he knows this is not going to be a fake into gas. There's no such build, really, that a Terran could pull off. He also has the Overlord to double check. So right now, DRG with all the information in the world. iNnoVation, on the other hand, is in the main base as well. He's checking for gases. He knows that possibility is there. What if DRG switches things up? What if he goes for a Baneling Buster or a Roach all-in, or just a Roach Pressure? I gotta be ready for this. He starts... Oh, I'm mistaken. The neutral depot gets me every time a player is yellow. I thought he started a bunker there. I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Just a neutral depot at the bottom ramp, as Legend highlighted. 2 gases complete for iNnoVation. He's doing what I expected. You know, I wanted to see him go for a fast 3rd without gases, but that build is kind of falling off a little bit right now in Korea. For good reason, because if you do that, your Hellions are too late. And you don't get much benefit out of having more minerals early on unless you're going to do a big barracks attack. So most people are going gas before 3rd CC. iNnoVation makes his choice here. The follow-up, of course, becomes the most interesting part. What's he going to do? Depot being taken out now by Marines, so he gets a little bit more living space. We'll probably make a bunker there. DRG, on the other hand, has not taken gas. Will likely take a 3rd hatchery fairly soon. He's just powering up his units, getting his Queens out, for example. He wants to go up to 4 at least to be able to deal with those Hellions, which are going to be reacted out very soon. Based on what we've seen from iNnoVation already, I do not think we'll see Banshees. I think it's much more likely we see just very standard barracks follow-up, or we see double factory Hellion play. Not going to see Banshees. In fact, almost no one is doing Banshees nowadays in Korea. MVP pulls it out of his hat sometimes. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. But maybe Polt as well. Polt does it from time to time. Tech Cloud goes down. No starport. Hellions, no second factory. Double gas up for DRG though. Probably just going to add Evolution Chambers. Play similarly to what we saw him and Stefano already do in this group. DongRaeGu is a player you don't want to leave alone. You either want to attack him directly or you want to take your own advantages. Middle ground road, I feel, against DRG is not the right answer. So what is iNnoVation's answer? Just getting those Hellions out now. Wants to see his opponent's 30, sends the units to the ramp. You guys can't see him now, you do. Just 2 Hellions, sees the Queens, bounces off the watchtower like a ping pong ball, now going to go into the third base. It's more like a pinball machine ball at this point, with how he's going around. Just checking everything he can, finding all the information he needs. Not able to see Evolution Chambers because of the way the Queens were placed. Now he knows he can't really check for that, but generally speaking, if the third base is this late, you're going to expect Evolution Chambers. There's no attack coming across the map, you already checked for that. So he knows the Eco Chambers are going up. And that's going to make him feel really comfortable, knowing that his upgrades are not very far behind, if at all. In this case, they're ahead. Hellions want to find their way in here. Forces triple cancel there on those tumors. Of course, they can just be remade, but these little things add up. The Queen's now trying to come over here to defend this hatchery. He's got great Overlord coverage of which direction the Hellions are going to come from. And this is exactly what iNnoVation wants. He wants them to cancel repeatedly, over and over again. Hellions are really tough to use nowadays with the Queen patch, but there are ways, and we can see iNnoVation here, even though he's not able to kill the Queens or really kill the tumors, he can slow them down a little bit. Just a slight annoyance for DRG right now, losing almost nothing. Just time. Spore Crawler goes up for DRG, as well as the Lair, knowing that the possibility of Banshees is definitely there. Does not want to get caught with his pants down. That reactor on the factory is, of course, going to be for medevac production. We're already starting to see a good amount of Marines being produced here now that the production cycles are starting with the additional barracks added. Armory, again, just slightly off, it looks like. Going to line up okay. Both players going to end up pretty even in upgrades going into the mid-game here. Baneling Nest and the Lair finishing up for DRG at the same time. We'll probably add an Infestation Pit immediately. Probably will skip Baneling Speed until he feels he needs it as well. Find out what he chooses first as the Lair is now finishing. Gets a little bit of switching around, additional barracks. Wants to start siege tanks, get the medevacs going with that reactor he made. And you know what? DRG goes Spire. So he's going to be going for mutas just like we saw in Game 1. Not something I expected to see from him on Cloud Kingdom, but he's quite known for it. He and ST both just loving mutas. Not liking to break away from that style too much. 2-2 on the way, just slightly ahead for iNnoVation, depending on when DRG hits his timing here. He's almost done with his upgrades. We'll see how fast he hits it. He's getting Baneling Speed, of course, at an absolute must with Needless Play. Starts +2 to a little bit behind, but decently similar to iNnoVation. The upgrade's probably not going to come into play in this game. At least not 2-2. No player going to have a distinct advantage there. DRG hasn't taken a fourth. He's sitting back. He's banking up resources to go for mutas. When that Spire finishes, he may be able to get 5 or 6. Going to want to go up to at least 8, do some initial harass, and then shut down drops. Then depending on how much damage he does with the Baneling waves that he's going to start sending out, he may commit heavily to mutas and try to shut down everything iNnoVation makes and just overwhelm his opponent like we saw in Akalon already. Or he can just make infestors and transition. iNnoVation, though, is not giving him a lot of time to think about it. Moving out now, picks up immediately when he sees the Banelings. Taking some really nice hits, targeting down those Banelings, dropping a Marine on one. Just trying to make sure DRG wastes as much gas as possible. DRG starts 6 mutas, could start a 7th as that Overlord finishes. Goes up to 7 now. And this game is shaping up to be really close, really even. It's one of those games where neither player has made a dire mistake. Eventually in StarCraft, someone will make a mistake. That's why it's a competitive sport. And we're not watching AIs play against each other. DRG going for a run by here. This is slightly annoying for iNnoVation, but you see he doesn't lose much here. The biggest annoyance for him is that now he has to send some of his army back, so he no longer has this map presence that he had where he was starting to clear up the creep tumors, then picking up and clear and picking up, and with this many units, the Muse wouldn't be able to clean them up. This is a great catch on those lings. But he's still not able to clearly creep up, and DRG's starting to spread past the watchtowers now. And now the Muse are out as well. So these units can't be picked up to be saved. He needs more Marines, and these Hellions certainly help out a little bit. but not against the Mutalisk. Mutalisk fly. It's the truth. I wouldn't tell you a lie. Fourth base now down for DRG. iNnoVation, on the other hand, struggling to really have any sort of map presence. Look at the minimap. Not one single Terran unit is outside of his ramp. Not even one. No drops, no scans, no Marines, nothing. DRG has total map control, and he's going to use it. Picks off a deep leader. iNnoVation already supply block. Going to go into the red here for a second. Oh, wow, nice repair, actually. I swear every time I say a building's going to die, it just doesn't. Goes in here, goes to pick it off. iNnoVation in a situation now where he is trapped, and he needs to turtle to get a maxed out army and hope to trade one time well against DRG and then go for multi-prong harass and start to pick him apart just like he did against Stefano. But if DRG never gives him that trade, DRG is going to have the better bank, still has map control. This is something that could give iNnoVation an edge if Stefano, or rather DRG, messes up his micro here. But you know what? There's just not enough siege tanks. The unsieges here prematurely. No siege tank shots were fired, and DRG may just take this Code S spot right now. He's taking out the Medivacs. There's way too many lings here. All the SCVs at the third base are dead. DRG nearly now doubling the harvester count of iNnoVation. Trading a little bit inefficiently here with his views, but again, it's just too much. It's overwhelming, just like on Aquilon. The rest of the lings stream in. iNnoVation now down to 44 army supply. DRG, 30 army supply ahead here. Takes out the last of the siege tanks here. He will be able to take out this base, and it looks like he is going straight to the round of 16. Not a bumpy road for DRG tonight. Really nice attacks here, great micro. A lot of balls to make that decision to go for the attack, especially on this map at those positions where he was attacking into that choke point. iNnoVation unsieged his tanks. Even if his tanks were sieged, I don't think he would have had enough, but DRG just got the perfect angle, surrounded everything. DRG goes to the round of 16, not dropping a single set, making it look easy, and a smile and a little bit of a celebration there. He's got 16 stars around his name because that's where he's going. iNnoVation, a great showing in the first set, looking like he was facing a completely different human against DRG. Now he's going to, of course, face the winner of Stefano and Hack, which will happen after a 5-minute break. Remember, guys, this is a rare treat. This is Stefano finally accepting a Code S seed, being here in Korea, playing in Pro League already, here now, about to sit in that booth and play his match. He actually just walked by. You guys probably saw him. He's really excited. You know, he's been practicing a lot. Get on Twitter, hashtag Stefano and hashtag GSL, and let everybody know, whether you're doing it by Facebook on IRC or messaging your friend on Google Talk or something. Let everybody know this is happening. Hey, did you know Stefano actually might be out of the GSL on his first try? You can, of course, make sure you tweet at GomTV and at ProxyWolf. I'm going to be reading